Hello, friends. Welcome, everyone. We're glad that you're joining us this afternoon to hear pitches from the 2026 New Haven Civic Innovation Prize finalists. My name is Johnny Scafidi, and I'm the Director of Community Outreach and Engagement for Dwight Hall at Yale. This is the 7th iteration of the New Haven Civic Innovation Prize, and Dwight Hall is honored to steward this award as part of Startup Yale. Before we kick off the competition, I'd like to take a moment of gratitude. It is the practice of all partners at Startup Yale to begin our time together by sharing Yale's land acknowledgement to honor and recognize those who came before us in this region, where the Yale campus, and in fact Hotel Marcel, now sit. Yale University acknowledges that indigenous peoples and nations, including Mohegan, Mashantucket Pequot, Eastern Pequot, Schaghticoke, Golden Hill Pagosset, Niantic, the Quinnipiac, and other Algonquin-speaking peoples, have stewarded through generations the lands and waterways of what is now the state of Connecticut. We honor and respect the enduring relationship that exists between these peoples and nation and this land. I want to acknowledge some fellow Dwight Hall staff members who are here. David Wilkins, our Director of Philanthropy. Edward Nine, our Communications and Alumni Engagement Associate. And of course, Peter Crumlish, who I'll introduce along with the judges shortly. This is our only door, so please feel free to enter and exit as you leave, but please try to close as quietly as possible to not interfere with our contestants. You'll notice the room is amplified just fine for the size of the room. We're using microphones because the event is being recorded. So presenters, please do use the microphone. Judges will use a microphone as well when they're asking their questions. A lot of people end up using these pitches as promotional materials for their products and their processes later on. So that's a nice tool to have at your advantage. So thank you to our video production team. A little bit about Startup Yale. We're excited to be closing the prize competitions for Startup Yale. 8 prizes will be awarded over $240,000 just within the next 2 hours. We hope that you were able to witness the other competitions, take part in panels and workshops, participate in mentoring sessions, and network with other innovators throughout the day today. And if not, well, there's always next year. Dwight Hall at Yale is excited to be part of this massive collaborative effort, along with Sci Center for Innovative Thinking at Yale, Yale Planetary Solutions, Yale Center for the Business and Environment, Yale School of Public Health, Yale Engineering, Yale School of Music, and the Cultural Innovation Lab, as well as Yale Ventures. We're grateful for sponsorship from MindTrust for Startup Yale. MindTrust is a Teams as Service, or TaaS, platform that provides access to top developers, designers, marketers, technologists, and business strategists. Winning teams will get access to consultant services pro bono. The team at Executive Voice has also been an incredible partner in the background, helping build equitable practices within Startup Yale by helping teams pitch, coaching their presentations. And Executive Voice is based here in New Haven, Connecticut, and they are experts in communication strategy, the business uses of language and rhetoric, and the improvement of professional English by both native and non-native speakers. We are really fortunate to have their involvement. The New Haven Civic Innovation Prize would specifically like to thank Sci City and Dwight Hall at Yale donors for funding this prize. The award for our prize is a $25,000 pool. It might go to one competitor, it might go to a couple competitors. The judges have divided the pool as they saw fit in previous years according to the contest. I want to thank the Sci City team who's been hard at work. If you have any questions or if you have any feedback about equitable practices or anything that you've witnessed today, positive or constructive, we highly encourage you to find people in these sharp black pullovers. I work at Dwight Hall. You'd probably want to find somebody who works more centrally in Sci City, but I will be certain to pass on comments as well. And thanks particular to Cassie Tucker, Executive Director, Abby Winslow, Director of Operations, Rochelle, the Communications Director, and Jackie Daddio, who's the Operations Manager. As I said, Dwight Hall is honored to be the prize manager for the New Haven Civic Innovation Prize. and we look forward to an exciting event. We'll get started shortly, but I do have to say that we are committed to fostering inclusivity and welcome your thoughts on today's event, as I mentioned, so please do find us. Dwight Hall is Yale Center for Public Service and Social Justice and an independent 501c3 social profit organization whose values include commitment to the common good, compassion, diversity, growth and learning, partnership, critical reflection, and student initiative. At Dwight Hall, we believe in change. We believe that change is possible and worth fighting for. And in these uncertain times, we believe change has never been more important. That is why we do everything we can to make social change a reality. In this spirit, I'm delighted to tell you that our 4 finalists for the New Haven Civic Innovation Prize this year are Denial Copilot, Path Connect, Pearl, Connecticut, and Quartermill. They will be presenting in that order. You'll notice it's alphabetical. That's despite our best efforts to do a 3-round random number generator to not make it alphabetical. Teams will pitch for about 7 minutes and have an additional 8 minutes to respond to questions posed by our judges. Following the pitches, judges will retreat to the yellow room and deliberate to select a winner or more. And while the judges deliberate, we ask you, the audience, to stay here for some of your own Q&A and networking with the participants. I have audience choice prize cards that I will pass around the room. You can vote for your favorite audience choice. And that prize will be a $2,000 prize awarded to the team with the most votes from the audience. I will collect those ballots in that box, or there was another one in the front right here. Last year, we celebrated Enrich Health as our grand prize winner. Monique Rainford is around here. You will find her networking at various startup Yale events. Perhaps you've purchased honey or candles from Honeybee Project, enjoyed food from Havenly, or experienced events run by the Key Bookstore throughout Connecticut. These are just some of the winners who've had transformative products and processes and services as a result of the Civic Innovation Prize. Our judicial panel features 4 phenomenal leaders who have extensive experience across diverse issues and causes. We're privileged to have you here as judges, and they have contributed several hours of their time reading the applications, reviewing them, and listening to the pitches today. Excited first to introduce Genevieve Goburn-Walker, who's now the Executive Director for Common Ground New Haven Ecology Project. Gigi was born and raised in New Haven, Connecticut. She attended ECA, Educational Studies Center for the Arts, and studied theater here. After graduating from Wilbur Cross, she earned a bachelor's from Temple in Urban Studies, and she came back after getting her MA in elementary education from Teachers College at Columbia. She's been a 5th grade teacher. She's taught in New Haven and Hamden schools. And she also spent a decade at Concat as the CEO, as a chief operating officer and director of programs. She served as a director of workforce development at Social Impact Partners and is the founding principal of Increase Consulting, LLC. You can also find some of her archived podcasts, Jazzy Conversations with Teef and Gigi, on all podcast platforms. Mine is subscribed on Spotify. Peter Crumlish is serving as our moderator and helping the judges deliberate with this huge challenge. Peter is our executive director at Dwight Hall. He's served there since 2013. He served in the Peace Corps as a teacher trainer in the Philippines. He worked as a community organizer in the Bronx and ran a nonprofit public-private partnership with New York City Parks Department, building community engagement around parks and public spaces in the 5 boroughs of the city. After graduating with an MAR from Yale Divinity School, Peter returned to nonprofit work here in New Haven, working as the Director of Resource Development for Neighborhood Housing Services, or NHS of New Haven, prior to leading Dwight Hall. Louise Chavez Bromell is a New Haven native who believes that civic innovations strengthen communities. Luis is the Deputy Director for the New Haven Public Library System. He's a partner of Dwight Hall's, and he's facilitated civic innovation throughout his career as an AmeriCorps service member, co-creator of New Haven's Cultural Equity Plan, and nonprofit board member supporting New Haven's food system. Since 2016, he's been at NHFPL, and his work in public libraries reaffirms his view that civic innovations, such as public libraries, improve their communities. Mr. Arthur Thomas III is entrepreneur and founder and principal of Integrity Solutions Group, a consultancy supporting startups, nonprofit and corporate executives, and social sector leaders around developing economic development and impact investing strategies for wealth creation and upside. Originally from Newark, New Jersey, Arthur graduated from Yale Divinity School and developed the New Haven Equitable Entrepreneurial Ecosystem as part of his previous work at the Community Foundation for Greater New Haven. And finally, I'm thrilled to introduce Miss Ali Lopez, who has in the past served as a better MC than I, and is also a former co-coordinator of Dwight Hall. Ali has a junior in Pauli Murray College, double majors in ethnicity, race and migration, and political science. Quite frankly, Ali builds community everywhere she goes. Born and raised in New Mexico, she's been excited to find a lot of similarity between the community organizing scenes in both states. She's hopeful that her involvement in New Haven and in New Mexico will allow her to better serve both of these communities. She's currently interning with the ACLU, recognizing immigration cases in New Mexico right now. She led a May Day celebration and series of justice events on the New Haven Green last May. And as I mentioned, she was co-coordinator at Dwight Hall and served on the executive committee before that. In the fall of 2024, she led an initiative to collect and distribute donated clothes to several community partners and also recycle textiles throughout the city. That recognition recently won a Yale Sustainability Award. And those are our judges. I encourage you to get to know them. So, without further ado, let's hear from our finalists. Our first team up is Denial Copilot, led by Sham Ferdowsi. Sham, come on up. You can advance with the clicker. Use the microphone so that.
Hi, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here. Truly honored to be here. My name is Sham Ferdowsi. I am the founder of Denial Copilot. In my daytime job, I am the deputy CFO for one of the largest public safety net hospitals, health systems in the country for the county of Santa Clara in California. Prior to that, I was a hospital CFO for a for-profit hospital. And this is kind of where the idea for Denial Copilot came from. As you all understand, hospitals are under financial crunch right now. Every time when we talk about denials, people submit claims. It's a lot of manual work that goes in it. You don't understand what to work on, what not to work on, and millions of dollars are being lost every year. And there's a lot of work that needs to be done. So I went to work and I built Denial Copilot. A little bit about my background, why I'm here, what I do. I just graduated from the Yale Executive Public Health Program just this past year. Prior to that, I was the patient myself. I moved here from Pakistan when I was 9 with a single mom. Mom passed away, ended up as recipient of the safety net hospitals that I'm serving today, and I want to continue protecting. It's very important that we, as we think about what's happening across the country, we truly think about what happens when hospitals are continue to get denials and they cannot provide access to the patients. Service lines are being cut left and right. That's one of the reasons, I'm here today. I've been on the health plan side. I served in the military, came out. That was my kind of lifeline, came out, served in the military, and been in healthcare finance since then. And I had a goal when I came out, in the military. And, as people talk about healthcare, military does have some of the best healthcare. You can go get seen all the time. You don't have to worry about claims being denied. You don't have to worry about anything, not being covered. And I took that mentality and I was like, hey, the minute I got out of the military, I need to go into healthcare and change that. Came out of the military and been on a kind of like a run since then. Went to the payer side, ran one of the largest health plans in the country for Centene, which is hugely Medicaid. Worked there for a couple of years, learned their algorithms in and out, helped them build some algorithms. But I couldn't stay there too long as I started to see the shift, and I knew I wanted to be back in public healthcare is because when they were denying claims, when their executives are flying in $1 million jets while patient can't get access. Quit my job, came to the provider side, and been in the hospital provider side since then. Institutions that are built to serve everybody are losing money every single day. And Yale New Haven right here is near and dear to my heart. I grew up in a community on the south side of Chicago, very similar to this. Remember going to Michael Reese Hospital, which did get shut down because they couldn't get enough funding, and I do not want that to happen to any of the communities, any of the safety net health systems that we serve today. Just in 2024 alone, $450 million were underpaid by insurance companies to Yale New Havens. That means they submitted claims, they took care of the patients, and they were still not paid almost $450 million. County I work at, they're looking at about $1 billion loss by 2028 with all the stuff going on and all the federal funding cuts for Medicaid and Medicare, and that should enrage us and at the same time really push us all to push for tools like this. Yale New Haven last year operated at a loss of $197 million. And you have to understand, Yale New Haven serves 663,000 Medicaid beneficiaries every year. And this number is going to continue to rise given our economical challenge. And then on top of that, that operating loss is going to continue to grow because Medicaid funding just got cut and Medicare funding is being cut. So these challenges are real. When we talk about access, the foundations that these health systems are built on, if they do not have the fundings, they do shut service lines down, they do shut our access down, and they do shut our clinics down. I've been there, I've seen it happen in front of my eyes, and I do not want that to happen in this community. Top of everything, if you look at it across the country, every year, almost 262 billion is actually a number that's out there. It's from 2019. It's actually upwards of 300 billion and continue to rise every day. Insurance and payers are not playing a fair game. I've been on the payer side. I know the algorithms. I know how they work. There was an article actually just came out today. United Healthcare is being sued, and their first pass, so anytime a hospital submits a claim, they get 2 appeals. The AI generator automatically denies the first appeal, and then you have 1 appeal left to claim that fight for that denial, and that's it. That's your one chance to try to earn any dollar you can to continue providing care. 262, that's more closer to 300 billion. And then hospitals, they don't have the staff, they don't have the manpower to actually go and figure out what claims to work on and what to look at. They leave about 63% of denials don't even get appealed. And that's almost for Yale. If you look at their size and health system, that's $200 million that's sitting out there that could have been recovered if they had the right tools, right access. Not a billing problem, it's just we don't have the access, we didn't have the manpower. So I built this tool by hand. I was a hospital CFO, rural hospital in Wisconsin. That's kind of what I do. I live and breathe healthcare, and I just could not sit there and see this happen. Developed 5 algorithms. The one I really talk about is the facility index score. What it does, it gives the CFOs the ability to really look at what to fight for, what not to fight for. For the teams, it gives a revenue opportunity score, appeal success predictor, so they can focus on which claims to go out after. I have the MVP already built. More than happy to show a demo how it plays on. Larger health systems don't even need to. Smaller hospitals can upload a CSV file. We can get production up and running in 6 to 12 months. That means access for all. Every dollar comes in through the door. Manually validated it. Payers rules change every day. The AI runs all through the night. They looks at government sources, all the large payers portals, so all the information is up to date. So teams aren't worried about what rules are changing. They just get the alerts and they get to work. Like I said, MVP's built, ready to go. I predicted this was happening. Large health systems are getting away from those traditional larger companies like Optum, which I have worked for on the revenue cycle side. They're getting away from that because all they do is they hijack your system. They're bringing revenue cycle in-house and focusing on point solutions just like these, so you have more skin in the game and can fight for your patients. Like I said, financial recovery is our access outcome. This tool right here is kept in mind to be built for the communities that we serve here in Yale New Haven, for the access safety net health systems. As I said, the industry benchmark is around 50%. I validated the tool. I brought in almost $12 million. I'll kind of jump to this slide right here. $12 million manually using this same algorithm that validated my tool, validated the idea that it's ready to go. And I was able to save, in rural health Wisconsin, a women's health service line, which was on the chopping block, which was able to bring in $12 million. If I had the tool I wished I had back then, probably could have saved some other service lines. But as you can see my background, I've kind of just worked toward that. Doesn't serve one mission, serves it all. 3 UN goals. If you have good health, more dollars, you can open up service lines, you can continue to serve the patients. If you reduce inequalities, payers have been playing the AI game for years to come. And for partnerships, we're here, we're ready, and you can help me start it here. Thanks.
So, questions from judges?
Is this thing on?
It is on.
Wonderful. Okay. Fantastic. So thank you so much for a very thorough presentation. My question is fairly short, but twofold. One is I'm curious how long it takes from implementation to the for an FQHC, for example, to begin seeing the impact in terms of their finances, and if this changes dramatically the implementation from the practitioners on site, like what do they have to change dramatically in terms of their processes to recoup denials?
Yeah, they don't have to do anything. That's the beauty of this tool. The way I built it, so small hospitals, so FQHCs and clinics can use it as a standalone tool. Implementation, as we get the tool up and running, it takes quick. It could be a standalone tool, takes anywhere from 60 to 90 days to get it implemented. We don't actually even have to run it through an EMR. That's why that's the key focus, because I know a lot of health systems, especially the smaller hospitals, rural hospitals, clinics, they can't afford to go through those $1 million implementations. Most of the time they do fail. Been there on that side. So this can be a standalone tool. You upload the denial. There's different columns. You upload it, and it gives you a clean spreadsheet and tells you prioritize which denials to work on. And then you already have denial appeals team in-house that just prioritizes it for them and gives them predictability scores on what to focus on, what not to focus on.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Great presentation, great idea. Gigi actually stole my first question. So, you have an insider's look at the problem, and you have a passion for thinking this through. When I'm thinking about your business and what you're offering, are you the first one into this solution? And if not, who are your competitors? What are they doing, and what's your differentiation?
Yes, that's a great point. I do have some competitors out there. There's a small company called Bullient out there. My differentiation is the algorithms that I built in, and I validated them. The algorithms that I have built for the payers are the opposite of the algorithms I'm building here. On the Centene side, when I used to work for the payers, it was kind of similar mentality on how you look at different claims coming in, what type of things happening. What the other large competitors don't have is they always offer large suites. So think of R1 RCM, I'm not sure if anybody's familiar, Optum 360. They offer a whole suite of revenue cycle products because they want to take over your system. They lock you in for 10 years, and then hospitals can't get out of those contracts because they're so deeply embedded. They rebadge all your staff. Whereas this tool is a point solution. Hey, this is what's focused on. And like I said, there's 34% of health systems that much rather bring a point solution to solve this problem by itself than give away control of their revenue cycle to larger health systems. And that's the difference between myself and some of the competitors that are out there.
Thank you.
To kind of follow up on that point, so if this is a point solution, how are you planning to market this to different hospitals of various sizes? Is it a subscription model? How are people signing up? How do they stay locked into this program?
Yeah, other competitors that do offer, there's only one or two other competitors that offer very, very kind of even close to a service like this. They charge 20 to 25%. Any company that's out there that works in revenue cycle health system space, our goal is kind of the same way. We're not that high. I'm not in it for the money. I have some other advisors that work with me, revenue cycle experts that have worked in the systems. Our goal is we don't make money until you make money. So whenever you recover, 10 to 15% of that is we'll take with you. And like I said, the market out there, if we were thinking financial, but those are not the numbers I think of, I want to provide access. It's $1 billion market out there for this specific tool alone. But for us, it's really about finding the right partners, piloting it, and moving on from there.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for the presentation. My question, kind of building off your premise of really patron, or I guess we'd say patient privacy, right? So with the algorithm, you're saying that is your point of differentiation. How do you think as things change with the federal government and so on and so forth, how can you really support, let's say, these rural hospitals, or say Yale New Haven Health and the things that they navigate? What kind of safeguards are you implementing with your AI?
Yeah, that's a great point. So the AI, the way this model is built to the point is our goal is just to look at the denial codes. Each time a denial comes in, it has a code built into it, and that's where my denial DNA algorithm works. It takes the denial code itself. I don't need to know the patient information. I don't need to know any of that. I just need to know the code denial and the reason behind it, because what the AI does behind the scenes is it bumps it up against Milliman guidelines or the CMS guidelines and lets them know if they are denying it out of just bad faith, or they're actually denying it for a reason, and that's why we safeguard it. But when the production is full done, and that's kind of what my next goal is towards moving it forward, is HIPAA compliant, FHIR compliant. If we do embed it within EMRs for larger health systems, we will build those safeguards there. But right now, to the point where we can demonstrate and pilot it, we don't even need any patient information. Our goal is just to focus on the denials, the codes, and give them feedback on what type of appeals they need to do, what type of letters they need to write.
Thank you.
Well, Louis stole my last question, so I don't have another.
Because you have the impact side, this is a for-profit company, right?
Yes,
So, but you have a mission.
yes.
The impact that you're having is you're trying to provide access. And you mentioned United Nations or the Sustainable Development Goals. Is there at some point a thought about having a fund or doing a philanthropic side to this to kind of?
Yes, that's exactly the plan. I don't plan to be. I mean, I was running a private equity health system, left my very cushy job, came to the public health side. You know, I wasn't in it for the money. I grew up, and I know having access where it brought me where I am today. I'm grateful and thankful and blessed for that. So the goal is long-term, started out that way, and then eventually turn it into some sort of kind of a nonprofit. But I'm still trying to navigate how, starting a venture and then going out nonprofit. But that would be the ideal goal, and that's kind of what I'm working towards, of how I would, once we get the tool up and running, once we find some partners, how we can work on the nonprofit side of it.
That story is part of your differentiation too.
Thank you.
So at Dwight Hall, we think a lot about systems change, and I'm curious, how do you see this not only just addressing an urgent need in a clearly broken system, but can it contribute to changing that system for better?
Yes, absolutely. I think the way to think about it is, once everybody has access to the tool, then it's easier to get people on board, and it's easier to change that mentality. And I see that. That's a great question. Change management is hard. Changing the systems is very hard. I work in the county where, people have been there 30, 40 years, and I'm coming in as a 30-year-old telling them, hey, we need to do this, we need to move this around, we need to move this around. It's systems, and it takes time, but when people have the right tool, and when they see the results come through, and when they understand that their jobs are protected, and we're providing access to people, which is kind of what the goal here is, especially with safety net, people change quickly, and it's happening right now. Not to get political here, but our public healthcare system is under attack, like no doubt about it. I'm very vocal about it in my personal life, out in my real world. And if we just sit here and don't come up with a change now, then we're never gonna be able to do that. And hospitals are already shutting down left and right because of reasons like this. Thank you.
So next up, we have Path Connect and Babs Williams.
Good day, everyone. I strongly feel a good percentage of people in the room probably knows an immigrant or an international or probably relocated to a new city. So imagine arriving in a new country or a new city, ambitious, enthusiastic, but you lack the starting point on how to navigate the entire environment. Jose was one of the frustrated people. He had to learn the hard way, and so did I. Arriving in the United States, here for a program school, everything felt smooth, but I felt isolated. And we all have the same issues. Confusion. Where do we start from? How do we engage? Where do we get the resource? And who do we trust? And these has been pressing concerns and pressing issues amongst immigrants and people relocating to new cities, even as US citizens. I call this group of people newcomers. They're divided into two. One are immigrants who are relocating to a new country. Others are residents who are changing and moving to cities for whatever reasons that they choose. I am Babs Williams, the founder of Path Connect. Using New Haven as a case study, we identified about 1 out of 4 people are 1 out of 4 are foreign born. Sorry, 1 out of 5 are foreign born. 1 out of 4 speak a foreign language in their home. But beyond that, if you look at that group of people who were internationals or newly introduced into the system, these candidates and these people are sometimes frustrated in integrating, meaning they find it difficult in getting a job, getting the right information, and how they navigate the entire system. And the impact to cities and societies is that you have jobs that are not filled, resources and talents that are not they're not utilized, and a slow growth in economic engagement. So all of this wasn't just birthed because it was a fancy idea, but these are solutions that have already gotten my hands dirty. It was grounded on data and grounded on experiences. We've engaged about 60 plus, we had 60 plus conversations. We have signed MOUs, we have over 100 waiting list, and a few hours before I came in, I got 2 emails, one from a group that has a 500 size capacity who wants to onboard their members and are willing to join the wait list. Another was a group about 1,700 for the same number as well. So that number of 100 plus is potentially going to grow after this call to over 2,000. And that even changed the entire projection of this entire slide. And yeah, so the issue is not that there are not solutions or there are not avenues that can help people. The issue is that they're all fragmented and not in a singular place. New Haven has solutions that help people for housing. There are jobs right there. There are legal supports. There are communities. But all these things are fragmented that makes people confused, that gets them frustrated, and gets to a point that they lose time. I humorously and seriously do say that the first set of people you engage in as an immigrant could shape a decade of your entire experience. Meaning, you probably had the right insight, but due to fear, political environments, or just ignorance, you don't take that move. And there are 2 sets of pains I usually define. Pain of the sacrifice that you do, 2 sets of pain. One is the sacrifice that you make, and there's the pain of regret. And this demographic or this group of people end up regretting. Now, what does Pod Connect do? So Pod Connect is a mobile-first platform that gives newcomers 3 things that makes the entire experience smooth. 1, we provide trusted resources. These are options as to what they need, where to go. The second thing we provide them vetted guides. So guides here are our advisors who one, have the lived experiences, and secondly, have navigated through this entire system, and also people who have also lived within these communities and know how to navigate whatever challenges as newcomers will experience. And the third is a personal action plan. So these are like dedicated activities that you have to set up to achieve whatever goals that you want to attain within that community. So the process is pretty simple, just a 5-step. We have an intake form, simple questions of what you need, what's the most important thing for you right now, and how quick you want to get that resolved. And after you're able to fill this information, then it moves on to the personal plan. Then we match you up with the right resources, and we can also match you up with the guides. So the guides are the individuals that I mentioned who could handhold you as well. Then we also track your progress, and that's it. So this is what the system will more or less look like. It's an app-based solution whereby you just literally make your inquiries. I think what we have on screen is on housing. Your inquiry moving to a new location is you're looking for housing. You probably don't have the credit. Then there are solutions right there and guidance and how you could move on to, and at the end of the day, we track the progress. And it's quite simple, like I said, we start off with 5 clear steps. We get 3 trusted local resources immediately, and we have an optional guide if you want to meet someone in person to guide you. And all this system is done on the platform, meaning the conversations, the communications, the video calls, everything is done on that platform for ease and for trust. And again, for our guys, these are trusted, vetted people. So we already have a system whereby we train you, we provide you the right information, and we confirm that whatever experiences you claim you do have been vetted and accurate. So yes, they're already existing systems, and I look at them I don't see them as competition, I see them as collaborators, whereby we have created local resources, we have guide matching, and some of all these systems already have things that they do and things that they lack. And what Pod Connect does is an integration system where we put all the resources together in a single place, and everyone is able to benefit from it. Yes, and the end goal of this is improving the system. The end goal of this is to improve the system, and there are lots of benefit that comes also to the city. New Haven is meant to be the pilot, and we're expanding to. And I also want us to look at it as the benefit is not just New Haven. The benefit to New Haven is the fact that we're able to create a system that benefits and is able to scale to other cities in the future. We have a 5-year plan or a 4-year plan. Like I said earlier, our 2027 goal was to be able to have 500 newcomers, but from the easy conversation I had earlier today, it shows that there's a high demand for that from different groups, and this could probably move to the thousands or even up into the millions. By 2023, we intend to expand into the tri-state as well, and moving on. So our team. So why us? We are people who have the lived experiences and have these challenges, and we're also well experienced professionally to build things, to build the system in place. Why the $25,000? Like I said, it's going to be broken down into product development, the pilot operations, the partnerships, and also measuring that. So at the end of the day, Jose and myself had it very difficult. And the goal is to make it much easier for the next step of person to integrate here. Imagine your parents as immigrants or first generations and the stories they told you. Now imagine that entire story eliminated because of ease, because of connection, and because of Pat Connect. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that presentation. It seems like this is an incredible resource, especially thinking about all of the amazing nonprofits we already have in the city, to just collaborate and have some overarching guide that can help people find the resources that are going to best serve them. So thank you so much for thinking this up. This is amazing. I do have a question. You mentioned the very high demand for a service of this sort. I really like the app-based solution that you presented. It seems like that's easily accessible to people. That's something that many people can access at one time. But the other core component of your pitch is the personal guide that is assigned to each person. So I'm really wondering what that step looks like, how you're able to scale and vet so many guides that you can accommodate thousands of newcomers.
That's a great question. So when it comes to the guide, try not to generalize. People like to help, right? And this was birthed from my own personal experience. I had internationals reach out to me. I'm Nigerian. I had Nigerians reach out to me. I had different nationalities and from different continents. And it wasn't just a me problem. It was the fact that they had the right information. And I can't remember what the proverb is, but if I'm able to teach the right person, the people who have engaged in the past are able to pass that knowledge easily. So once people already have good success rate and good guidance, it becomes much easier. And also people like social good. Now, there are other ways in which we can do it. Part of the other metrics could be from a social status thing is we also give acknowledgement to people on the number of hours that they will be spending on the platform in mentoring or guiding. And these things could also lead to like social media acknowledgement. It could be like a billboard acknowledgement, but at the same time, not also disclosing the people that they help. So there also could be a social credit that inspires people to do more. At the end of the day, we also acknowledge people for the number of hours they invest as well at the end of the year. Now, this is also from the integration side. We should also look at it from the position of career-wise. So I decide to move to Texas. I have no clue who's in Texas, and I could be American. I have no clue is there. I just have whatever American dream I'm trying to extend over there. Changing careers from art to maybe product management. The same platform could also provide you that guidance where you're able to identify a product manager or someone within your field and have those conversations and also skill. So from a professional perspective, there are people willing to help. From a pain point perspective of immigration, there are also people right there as well who are willing to make life easier for others. You're welcome.
Thank you for a wonderful presentation, Babs.
You're welcome.
My question for you is, who do you see as the long-term paying customer? Is it the city? Is it a municipality? Or the employers who would invest? Who? Well, I see you've got a slide for it.
I'm just looking for
Wonderful.
So the model, let me just see if all right, so the model is a hybrid model. Initially, having two sides. So the first immigrants, obviously, for whatever reasons, they may not be able to afford the platform. Now, this platform is also going to provide options for jobs, for example. So it could also, for businesses within such communities and cities, they could also put their job boards over there. For businesses who also need to thrive, for example, people who require legal advice or legal support, such organizations will be able to put their services on that same platform. And those are the people who primarily fund the entire system. So it's a hybrid of non-for-profit but profit, but I see the business more from profit from a sustainability perspective.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I should have went before you.
Still your question again?
You got me regrouping over here. So I appreciate this resource because it is needed.
Yep.
I'm thinking also that I know that you're targeting newcomers, as you call it, but it's not just for newcomers.
Sure.
With that being said, I'm also thinking about a little bit of her question is that the guides.
Yep.
You have at least 4 verticals that I saw in terms of impact areas that need help navigation.
Yep.
That means you need to be constantly sourcing guides,
Yep.
vetting guides, training guides.
Yep.
Is this volunteer?
That's the question?
Yes,
Yes, it is volunteer.
the guides are volunteer.
They're volunteer. And also, there'll also be resources on the platform where they clear direction. So if there are repetitive concerns that keep coming up, rather than meeting guides, we're probably going to have there will be videos, there will be like written materials, and there will be information that points you right to the direction that you need support clearly.
But the investment in building up that area of your business model is going to be high.
You mean the guides?
Time and energy, right. Because they basically become like another customer because you have to find customers and always find guides
Yep.
constantly. So
Yep.
you're putting a system in place to make that pipeline readily available?
Yes, yes, yes. So to use an example, an existing business, it's called ADP List. I don't know if you're aware of ADP List. So ADP List is a mentorship platform and also uses close to similar model. So the guys to them would be the mentors. I've been on ADP List and I just volunteer my service. I have people who reach out to me that they want to go into product, they want to go into program management, and I have a dedicated day in my calendar where I have this free consultation. I voluntarily do this, and currently I think they have about 1 million subscribers to it, and no one is getting paid for this. So that is it from their own perspective. And I think maybe to address this concern on building that is also refining what our value proposition is to that segment of people over and again. The same narrative or the same interest may not be that for everybody else. I remember having this conversation yesterday actually with someone else, and they said they care less about having their face being in Times Square as being a mentor, but they just rather be anonymous and support that. So those are kind of the areas that we're looking at, but also open to refine as we begin to build that segment.
And then the last thing I say is that you're building an ecosystem here.
Yes.
So I appreciate that you understand that you're collaborating with partners.
Yes.
But you're building the ecosystem.
Mhm.
Is someone on your team going to be constantly coordinating and connecting with those different resource providers to make sure that you stay on the same page, capture the right milestones and metrics? Because that is another part of this architecture.
Yes, and that is what this funding is for, in a nutshell. So currently we're 3 people. We have the business development who engages the business side of things. We have the community partnerships who addresses that little side of it. We also have other sides from the operations and the data measurement as well, where we track these models, we track the advancements of all the activities we're doing per time per system.
Perfect.
Yep.
Okay.
20%. I wrote it down. 20% for outreach and partnership.
You read that?
Yes, I did.
Wow, you cut it. Thank you. Is that it? You're welcome.
Once again, at the end, I'll pass out audience choice ballots for people to decide. Next up is Pearl, Connecticut, and that team consists of Amy Guan, Anja Demiraj, and Yumi Yang.
Hello, everyone. My name is Andya. I'm Yumi. And today we'll be pitching our startup, Pearl, which is an officially registered nonprofit in Connecticut. I want you all to imagine Maria. She's 52 years old, lives in New Haven, and works 2 jobs. She's had bleeding gums for the past few years, but she ignores it. Not because she doesn't care, but because she doesn't understand what it is, she can't afford a dentist, and she doesn't even know if she can go to one. Eventually, she ends up in the emergency room with severe pain, all from something that is entirely preventable. Maria is not the exception. She is the system. Periodontal disease is the chronic inflammation of gums that's affecting over 1 billion people globally and 42% of residents in Connecticut and by extension, New Haven. As you can see from the map here, New Haven faces tremendous dental shortage. 50,000 people in New Haven are walking time bombs for periodontal disease. And like Maria, they can end up with tooth loss and decay, cardiovascular complications, and down the line, develop Alzheimer's disease. Prevention is not the only issue here, though. It's also everything around it and the lack of follow-through. That's why someone like Maria falls through the cracks and why we desperately need to patch that gap. So we built Pearl to make patients feel seen. So we screen them through our mobile vans and community partnerships. We educate them through our interactive in-person activities and learning modules. We equip them with the oral health kits that better their oral hygiene. And we help them navigate their health through our mobile app, which includes that referral tracking component. Our mission is straightforward. We want to break down the barriers for accessing care and reduce the prevalence of periodontal disease. Our team brings forth public health expertise across the disciplines, ranging from health policy to chronic disease epidemiology. I will also be going to dental school in a few months, so all of that coupled with our clinical advisors from Yale and UConn, we are more than equipped to get this going. And I want you all to remember, we're not just building a program, but we're building something that is scalable, sustainable, and rooted in community.
So how does Pearl close the loop for someone like Maria? We bring care to her. Through mobile van partnerships, Pearl delivers oral health screening and prevention directly into trusted New Haven spaces. No travel required. This removes key barriers like transportation, cost, and limited access. While mobile dental vans already serve children, adults are largely left out. That's the gap we fill. By renting existing mobile vans, our model is practical, cost-efficient, and scalable. We show up at churches, shelters, schools, and community sites, meeting people where they are and catching problems early before they become emergencies. Care doesn't stop at screening, it starts there. Because if people don't understand gum disease, nothing changes. Pearl delivers hands-on education every 3 months in trusted community spaces and local events, building ongoing relationships and not one-time interactions. Sessions happen in schools, churches, shelters, and the downtown evening soup kitchen. We make learning engaging and practical with case discussions, the eggshell experiment, and live flossing demos. Each session also introduces Pearl Connect and provides take-home materials so people leave with tools, not just information. This is how awareness becomes action. Finally, Pearl Connect, our oral mobile health app. It supports daily habits with smart reminders and two-way messaging. Users can manage appointments and track brushing, flossing, and mouthwash use all in one place. For providers, the app also offers education, local resources, and maps to low-cost clinics for easy follow-up. And for providers, a built-in dashboard enables outreach, referrals, and ongoing engagement. This is how Pearl helps people like Maria move from crisis to prevention and into care that continues.
So by focusing on referral support, community-based education activities, kit distribution, and mobile dental vans, Pearl will help people avoid the death spiral. Preventable dental issues are often go untreated among low-income individuals in New Haven everywhere, and oftentimes people go to emergency departments for care, which provides a significant financial burden for them, as each ED visit costs nearly 3 times that of a dental visit. It's also important to note that in the US, each year, more than 2 million emergency department visits are related to dental problems, and this produces an amount of cost of $1.6 billion, which is a huge financial burden for health systems at large. So Pearl's preventive care and referral model approach helps to shift that care away from ED settings towards more community-based settings, which effectively helps to reduce the cost for both the patient and health systems, while also improving people's oral health overall. So our funding allocation plan aims to achieve immediate impact and visibility, as well as partnerships and scalability. We plan to invest 20% towards the oral health hygiene kits, as well as education activities, and then a significant amount towards the mobile vans. We will utilize these current dental van initiatives for renting services, as well as focusing on mobile app development components such as design, referral directory, learning library, and the basic reminder systems. So to evaluate the Pearl's impact on improving oral health for New Haven community members, we will focus on reach and participation. So we plan to have these 4 community events, reaching at least 150 plus participants in year 1. And then we also want to look at knowledge and behavior change by looking at an improvement of 25% for these pre and post assessments given during the community events. We will also look at 60% self-report intention to improve their oral hygiene practices, and finally look at a 50% referral completion rate. So these benchmarks here really highlight our commitment to educating and providing actionable behavior change for all underserved New Haven community members. So to create this integrated and community-based network of care, we plan to establish partnerships with community organizations, local dental clinics and hospitals, as well as higher education institutions such as Yale and UConn. We currently have support from the Connecticut Oral Health Initiative, as well as the Connecticut Office of Oral Health. And for sustainability, we plan to focus on local, state, and national grants, as well as sponsorships from healthcare companies, as well as insurance companies such as Delta Dental, and then look at philanthropic support. So Pearl brings preventive care for oral health directly into underserved communities of New Haven, and we hope through Pearl that we're transforming oral health in New Haven from one not of crisis, but rather one of prevention, empowerment, and hope.
Sounds like you guys need to work with Path Connect. Very, very interesting service, and thank you for seeing this issue and responding to it. I think one of my questions is first, and so let me dial back. When I see a solution that's so impactful, it gets me excited, right? Because prevention is necessary. So many people need this. When I hear the nonprofit, I get worried. Why nonprofit? As we think about sustainability, why'd you choose the nonprofit model?
We honestly just wanted to make it accessible for everyone. That was what nonprofit means to us, and our first desire is just to serve the community. So that is why we decided to go with the nonprofit. I understand that funding becomes more difficult, obviously, but there are extensive opportunities out there for us to apply for funding. One such dental van in New Haven right now is focusing only on pediatric care. So we know it is possible to get this going and moving forward, hopefully with the help of the New Haven Civic Innovation Prize.
And the second question is that there are as you explained, there's so many people with this issue.
Right.
As a startup, though, you can't serve everybody.
Yeah.
Who's your target market in the beginning?
So we actually have created it so that we can reach most of New Haven, so of all the underserved areas. We are bringing our dental vans and our education in centers and hubs where we can reach all of these people. And looking forward, we want to scale that up towards all of Connecticut, which is why we're called Pearl Connecticut. But we do believe that we will be able to reach most of New Haven.
Okay.
Thank you for this presentation. This is like absolutely incredible. I noticed that one of your goals is to measure knowledge and behavior changes in the populations that you serve. And the thing about dental health or oral health is that you really need to build the habit. Like, it's not like a one-time fix.
Yep.
So I'm kind of wondering how you plan to continually engage clients. Obviously, you have the app model. I'm also wondering like how you can integrate your services into the services already provided at Desk CT and other partner sites around the city.
Yeah, do you want to take this question a little bit more extensive? We do have the...
So we also have community-led sessions, and they are held every 3 times a year. And that's where we deliver those workshops and habit building. We also would introduce Pearl Connect, and in case seniors might have challenges with the mobile app, we will also invite family members or friends who can help with the seniors and train them in that way. But our mobile app is basically the platform where we connect with residents and where providers can also make referrals for patients as well. And that way we'll have all the patients be connected.
So the mobile vans will be in tandem with these educational activities and learning modules that we're going to be hosting. And we're very aware of that being a very core component. So that's why we integrated it.
All right. Thank you, everyone. Really appreciate the presentation and just the breadth and depth that you put into this. My question is actually more practical and like logistical. So it's wonderful that you're working with these various partners, such as Desk, to ensure that their clients and their visitors have access to this education, these actual kits. I loved hearing those tools.
Yes.
Practical question. If you need to brush your teeth, say, several times a day, where are they actually going to brush their teeth, especially if they are unhoused or just transitional housing? And so I know there's mobile vans, but what are some of those holistic ecosystem supports? Because it's great to have all of the tools, but if you don't necessarily have a place to be able to use those tools, that can be something else.
Right, so we're going to be working very closely with different community centers and community hubs. So we will create and establish those partnerships and allow any person to just come into those spaces and use it and take care of their hygiene. In terms of also the brushing itself, we actually have one of the events established. We have an extensive learning module, and we've basically broken down every single event and what activities we will include and incorporate in each of these sessions. And one of the sessions is actually teaching patients how to brush their teeth, right? A lot of people think that, brushing is very simple, but there's a lot more that goes into it. So we're really going to break it down step by step for everyone. We have different learning activities for brushing, for flossing. So we're really extensive and really consider everything. Yeah.
Just to add to that, I am currently the director of the Community Health Pantry Project at the St. James and St. John's Episcopal School Church. So basically, we distribute basic supplies, hygiene kits, and that's where a lot of New Haven residents come in almost every single day to get basic grocery supplies and food. And that is going to be our initial point because I already have those connections. They will be able to come in and we'll be able to distribute those kits there. And there are also public bathroom facilities within the church, so they'll be able to use that location as well.
So one of the questions I had was around the cost per patient. If you have a sense of or have codified exactly what that is and what goes into that model, is it largely the supplies, the staffing time, the navigating multiple encounters? Like how have you calculated the costs?
So for the cost for the patient, the mobile dental van services will be free. So the staffing for those will leverage connections with dentists in the area so that they can volunteer their time if they're interested. So hopefully that cost for the patient is free. And then the oral health kits are also going to be free. So yeah, I guess.
Just to add to that, UConn already has programs where they have dental students and practitioners go out into communities on a very periodic basis, different places, and they offer services. So we definitely have an established partnership with them, and so they would probably be in the forefront there.
I think I might reframe, right? Because the products are free to the client,
Yep.
but they will cost someone.
Yeah.
So I'm
Right.
curious about what that cost is, and I love that what you're offering is free for people, because I think the problem is certainly clearly defined. But have you codified that
We
cost?
have broken it down. I don't know if we've included, do we have our appendix attached here? We have a huge spreadsheet of like all of the costs. And to be honest, it's daunting when you look at the number. It's a great, tremendous cost. However, because we're just looking at year one right now, and that is like kind of where our budget allocation and what our like revenue projections are. Yeah.
Just to quickly add to that, because we are distributing community kits already to those New Haven residents, we have already established partnerships with the donors. So, we'll partner with those as well. I think that would be our first priority, to partner with those and ask for sort of more low-cost, efficient kits.
Oh, you want, I'm sorry.
I can just add, so for the dental kits, they're estimated to be about $6 for each of them. So if we reach like 250, we'll just have like 250 times 6. And then I think for the mobile dental vans, we're not really calculating based on per patient, but rather like per week of service that we're renting those vans. So, yeah.
Okay, great presentations, and we have one more. Thank you. We have Keith Pemberton presenting Quarter Mill.
Okay, good evening. My name is Keith G. Pemberton II. I am the founder and CEO of Quarter Mill, building the ground truth layer for the human record, connecting New Haven's public memory. To start, I'm a junior in Yale College. I'm majoring in history and computing culture and society. I'm from Haven, North Carolina, and that's actually where my journey started. From 12 years old, I was doing genealogical research. From then, I was an RA in the Library of Congress. I've done archival research across Latin America and the Middle East. This past December, I was in Ghana, looking at Kwame Nkrumah, the first national president of Ghana, his personal papers, his correspondence, and seeing how they were disconnected from the broader human record. That gap created Quarter Mill. Not an app, not a search engine, but actual infrastructure. Quarter Mill is where the human record becomes trustworthy. Now, to start, New Haven. It has one of the most layered and complex histories of our nation, being one of America's oldest cities, from the Quinnipiac peoples, pre-1638, in the colonial era, slavery and resistance, what we know about the Amistad as well, labor and migration, civil rights to today. Because its memory is everywhere, it's also nowhere at the same time, and some of the institutions below you can see in which a lot of the repositories sit. Most of it was never digitized. What was, not connected. And what connected was never verified. And that's where we sit at today as an epidemiological issue. The record was always fragmented. The internet inherited that fragmentation and scaled it. Today, we're sitting in a place where New Haven's public memory is being distorted when it already wasn't complete. The communities that built this city are being represented by a system that never truly understood it. This is where Quarter Mill comes into play. Think about the first initiative and company where New Haven's memory becomes findable, connected, and true. And I want to point you to this graphic right now. So think about all the institutions on this board, including the New Haven Free Public Library, New Haven Museum, even oral histories, fragmented and thus invisible in a sense. After, through Quarter Mill, thinking about how every claim, every source, every institution traceable using archival methodology, but also digital humanities as well. The Bloomberg terminal for the human record. What surfaces is an actual ground truth that's never been seen before. More specifically, from the technical aspects of how Quarter Mill works, what goes in any record, any format, and this comes from my time spent as a History Makers digital ambassador, where it's the largest repository of African-American oral histories. So thinking about the idea of cultural and equity values, not just including what's written on the record, but also what's been in marginalized communities and their oral histories. What QM does is then read, extract, connect, and verify think HTR, hand text recognition, OCR, and then what comes out is one answer, every step traceable, and absent services as evidence, getting more power with every collection added. Now, this is the paradigm world shift with Quartermill, from the archive to the classroom to the street. What Quartermill does is serve New Haven's whole community. And actually, I labeled the stakeholders here, thinking about the researcher, the Dixwell congregational member, the educator, the citizen, all running off of Quartermill's memory infrastructure, serving as a bedrock. And I want to point towards one specific Quartermill user experience, and one of the most important facets of our community is actually the educator. So imagine Quartermill answering with receipts. What was the relationship between New Haven's Puerto Rican community and the civil rights movement in the 1950s and 1960s? So we have verified entities found. Think about La Casa Cultural Center here at Yale, Hill Neighborhood Organizing, oral histories, and even on the broad arc of time, connection to the abolition movement. But also, absence detected. Record 1952 to 1958, not yet digitized. That silence in itself is evidence in the human record. Sources, every claim, every source across 4 institutions being able to export as verified curriculum module. Now, every interface may be different depending on who the end user is, but the ground truth beneath it never changes. Now, the idea of services versus infrastructure. We're at a critical moment in our country's history, America at 250, but also the age of AI and the age of misinformation. Quartermill is built for New Haven and built to last, thinking about what's changing, what's possible forever, and outlasting the moment right now. When it comes to New Haven impact, already touched on briefly, but thinking about a church member finding proof of their congregation's ties to the Underground Railroad. A Hell House student building a project based on a collection of primary sources across multiple repositories and databases. In Fairhaven, a young person through a Quartermill fellowship actually gets paid to comb through the archive and find their second great-grandmother in the 1920s census. When it comes to partnerships, rooted in New Haven but connected to the world. So, New Haven in itself did not develop in a silo, and Quartermill is not developing in a silo either. Seeing how New Haven is actually a collection of immigrants coming from the Great Migration, but also Latin America and Central America as well. So, seeing how Quartermill is actually New Haven's public memory expanded past our city limits. The ask of $25,000 goes towards 3 specific efforts, but all interconnected. The further platform development of what I've already coded, the EdTech interface, so Quartermill built for the classroom specifically, and exploring New Haven High School outreach and Spring 2027 pilot launch. Then lastly, the last part is the Youth Digitization Fellowship. So the next generation paid to find themselves in the archive while simultaneously train the next generation of historians, archivists, and humanists grounded in the past. When it comes to sustainability, institutional licensing, API access, and grant subawards, thinking about the IMLS, Mellon, and also NEH. Lastly, EdTech licensing as well. The revenue actually funds the digitization cycle for the next archives, so inherently making Quartermill system more richer. I want to end with the story of William Lanson, who actually 300 yards helped construct what we now know as the Long Wharf. Now, the Long Wharf in itself wasn't anything really to look at 200 years ago. It was actually overshadowed by Boston and New York. But William Lanson, a free black man who also tied to the abolitionist movement here in New Haven, actually helped build this out so more ships, which were larger, could come through the port. But most people have never heard his name, and actually his record and names have been distorted by historical newspapers. So Quartermill also works to uncover the hidden histories and distorted histories as well. Here's a statue of William Lanson right here. This is what we believe he looked like, because we don't currently have an image of him. Right now we're at the Hotel Marcel. Without him, we would not be here today. That's what Quartermill does, bridges the past to the present. Thank you.
Right. Thank you very much. Appreciate the presentation, especially from a library perspective. I warmed my heart to kind of see that application, so it's nice to see. I'll go with probably the most general everyday question, especially in terms of civic impact, and I know this very well, is that history is important, infrastructure, memory is important. So it's really the two-prong issue. Number one, how do we make sure as history is created every day, how do we find a way to kind of preserve that and honor that and verify that? And then two, how do we make it concrete for people to care, right? So for instance, we have the student that's, solving a project, wonderful, or something that's very precise, like family genealogy. But for an average person who doesn't necessarily think about it, right? Folks drive by 95 every day. They go by Long Wharf. Do they think about William Lanson versus the taco trucks, right? And so how do we kind of make the experience come alive, and how do you think Quarter Mill can kind of contribute to that?
Absolutely, that's a great question. Now, I think my answer to the first question is answered by the second question as well, because we're all inherently part of New Haven's public memory, one way or another. Our very existence today is tied to the records today and the records in the past. So actually starting, let's say in the 1700s, or even further back with indigenous history that may have been recorded, I think we're tying the narrative all together, so we make the records today matter even more to someone. They know that they're tied to William Lanson one way or another as they go through the Long Wharf, or even working on the Long Wharf, when it comes to perhaps a Dixwell congregational member, them seeing that they're tied to those who were fighting against the evils of slavery, the evils that were against democracy and the freedom. That empowers you as you go forward. And I think to a student or anyone passing by the pier, seeing perhaps a QR code linking to the Quarter Mill database of William Lanson, it's inspiring the next engineer, the next great person, because they see it in the past, enabling them to move forward.
Thank you, Keith, for the presentation and for the hard work that you've put into this. My question is, what is the level of ongoing human verification that's needed? And I want to also dovetail into this idea that you had for youth-paid internships to find themselves.
Right.
As I imagine those questions are partnered.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
When it comes to the first question, I'll actually revert back to this slide. So when it comes to, and could you repeat your question one more time, please?
So my question was how much human verification is tied
Absolutely.
into the ultimate product?
Absolutely. So this is actually core to our infrastructure. So the idea of reading, extracting, connecting, but verifying, because right now the idea of provenance, especially when it comes to modern day AI systems, but also even the internet, that's not core to them. And human in the loop is very key, especially as we move from a digital age to a trans-digital age. And I think to my brothers, for example, they may go on ChatGPT as their primary search engine, but not all that is verified. A lot is hallucinated. Also, a lot is flattened when it comes to oral histories and histories of marginalized people, which may be overcome by the general Western data, for instance.
And can you
Yeah.
I'm sorry. And can you also speak to the program piece that you mentioned about
Absolutely.
youth being paid to find themselves? I assume there's some verification and exciting process for them as well.
Absolutely, and I thought back to this because, as I was saying, from 12 years old doing genealogical research, both in physical and then think Ancestry, 23andMe, and those repositories online, and how many roadblocks I encountered, but also how much time I spent and how much it contributed to me, being able to attend Yale and my interest in pursuing a PhD program, for instance. So actually having that fellowship so students can both contribute to the Quarter Mill knowledge graph while also being paid and contributing to whatever thing that they may need to do for their families, or even contribute to a college fund as well.
Wonderful, wonderful idea. I'm wondering, I don't know if I have clarity on the revenue model. So the institutions are paying for the technology?
More so is bidirectional. So institutions pay for onboarding, the structuring and connecting of the entities to be on the platform or connected to other institutions. But the main source of revenue is actually researchers querying from New Haven and from the graph. So thinking about EdTech, for example, and having that platform accessible to districts, but also universities and historians doing research as well. And then it all feeds back into actually revenue funding the next New Haven collection that gets on board to the Quarter Mill platform. So we have more information and it being more accessible and also more valuable to a wider set of individuals.
So this technology is desirable to those customers?
Yes, specifically the historians right now, but the idea is as we expand not only in maritime history, but thinking civic and legal code within New Haven, and then expanding past to other regions in the Mid-Atlantic, it becomes valuable to a broader set of individual subscriptions and then also institutional licensing.
The last thing I'll say is, at the end of all these, when memories are being sort of captured,
Right.
I'm thinking about art installations to sort of showcase those memories and the history.
Right.
Because if people are doing this at the scale that I think you intend them to, there's some beautiful stories that have come out about this that need to be showcased.
Absolutely. And I'll say Frederick Douglass, there's augmented reality installation at the Boston Museum, right, African American Boston Museum right now, and that was like an early product of using like ChatGPT to create a model and have it display, but it was actually creating hallucinations as well. So how can we like not distort history as we move into more of a public grounding? Yeah.
Yeah, to build off your last question, I was kind of wondering about the idea of showcasing the knowledge that's uncovered on your search platform. And I'm kind of wondering if you've explored advertising. How are you enticing customers to try out your model? Is this a competitor for ChatGPT? Is this something that I'm seeing in class and I'm being suggested to kind of use it to help fill out my final project? Like, how are you seeing new consumers being introduced to your platform?
Absolutely. So I primarily see new consumers being introduced to the platform through both the classroom, as you were saying, when it comes to the ed tech licensing and it being an integral part of, let's say, educators' curriculum, but also historians using it as this more advanced tool, combining the collection of different databases that have now been extracted on a granular level, but also made queryable. So it's a workspace for them as well. So exploring partnerships through the American Historical Association, for instance. Yeah.
Perfect, thank you.
Yes. Oh, yes. Okay, absolutely, yes.
So that concludes the pitch competition part. I'm going to ask Peter Crumlish to lead the judges to the yellow room for deliberations. And I'm going to hold everybody else here and welcome the groups back up for a round of final applause. But I need to buy them as much time as possible. So let's let them exit.